Hello, friends. Nick Holt and I are here, um, and we're having our weekly meeting. So Nick and I meet once a week, and we talk about all things tennis related and the Foot Collective related, and where we are in both of these projects. So we thought it might be a good idea to record some of our conversations because they're pretty good nuggets. And I've talked to a lot of other foot nerds and a lot of other people in our Kajabi community, which is the Foot Collective community that we have digitally, and we all agree that these are good conversations to have, and that we all get something out of having them, and also hearing other people's journeys. So what we wanted to talk about today was Nick and I belong to the Foot Collective digital community. And within that community, there is something called the Explorer Trek. It's 42 consecutive days of different kinds of lessons that you listen to, like, I don't know, anywhere between 1 minute and 5 minute lessons. And then we have tasks and practices that we do in order to restore and maintain our lower limb health, starting with the feet. It includes balance training and squats and all kinds of feet, knees, and hip related stuff. And we each have done the trek once before. I've done it a few times and stopped and started, but recently committed to doing it again for the 42 days. And the first time Nick and I got something fundamental out of it, like you get a lay of the land and you understand what you're doing, and you kind of get like a rough idea of what the program is, and you get like a fundamental learning pattern from it. But going through it again, we're getting something very different. So last week in our meeting, we thought we might talk about some of the things that we're getting, because Nick and I are kind of getting completely different things out of it this time. So I wanted to just ask Nick a couple of questions about his process in doing this, and what he's getting out of it, and anything that I missed, Nick, around, like, because there's like proof of, we document like our progress too, which is really important. So, and then I got something different out of it. So he'll give some insight, and we'll just kind of riff off of what's happening in these 42 days, and how, and at the Foot Collective, and the map to foot freedom. I'm just going to review quickly the 5 keys, or the signposts, that you're on the right track. And the first one is to take a long-term mindset. So it's, for me, it's like a begin again and again and again. Like, no matter what happens, no matter how you fall off, the practices that you're hoping to accomplish, no matter what's going on in your life, you just begin again. And so the progress that we make is really over a long term, and I've realized that it's kind of a lifetime process. So of reaching new goals and getting healthier, and maintaining that health. So it's taking a long-term mindset. Then we assess our feet. Then we look at our squat, because you can't address feet without looking at our squat. Balance, ground experiments, so our relationship to the ground and how we move from getting up and down off the ground. And I'm forgetting one other thing, but it'll come to me later. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Nick.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I think the goal really is just to share our insights, and I think to share sort of our experiences, because even, we're essentially going through the same program, but in our conversations we realize that we're getting really different individual sort of insights as far as how the actual lessons are, what we're finding in our own bodies. And I think that's the real, like, big takeaways, that we're all unique, and we all have these unique injury histories and exercise histories. And yes, the actual sort of program and the trek is the same. We're all trying to get to this same sort of destination, but many times we're sort of taking different tracks to get there. And I know for me personally, it's the first time, I got a ton of value, just I think for me, the commitment of, spending and committing to the 30 minutes a day, and actually having to show the proof of work. And the way we do that is we post videos based on the lesson. So it's really powerful. Not only are you sort of, held accountable by the group, but then everybody can see everybody else's sort of homework. And there's just like a lot of really cool synergies when you're seeing other people and the way that they move and insights that they have. So that's kind of what we were thinking, is just to share some of that stuff kind of high level, and then specifics, as far as both of what we're working on. For me, I have this Achilles tendinopathy, just like an injury that's flared up. I know, you, Ruth, you've had knee stuff or overall sort of joint issues, and trying to work through that. And so, yeah, I think just sharing our insights, to hopefully help people sort of on their own journey. And so, yeah, I'll ask you a couple questions just to start off. Like, how has your, because you've done it now 3 times. So I know you had shared in the community how this time around you're really focused on play and making it fun, which I think maybe that was the missing component in the opening, was like the play is the way, in terms of like, if it's not fun, if it's not playful, like, we're not going to do it, right? So all this, you can have the best program in the world, but if you don't do it, it's like it doesn't matter. And so having a playful component to the work or the exercises, really is important. So you've kind of taken that on full force in this last round. So can you share a little bit how that's changed over the different tracks?
Yes, I can, because yeah, and I think the play is the way. I love the idea of this, but my personality has a tendency to make everything that starts out playful into work. Like, that's just my personality. Nick and we share a love of sports, a lot of different sports, and also a history of athletics. So we've both been on teams, and I think we have been kind of groomed in the same way. I don't know specifically for you, but like for me, it was always like a lot of discipline, And so, and I really like the idea that there has to be a structure and some work involved, and your why, like, why am I doing the work? And the why for me has to do with like true play and fun and pleasure in moving my body, which has been a missing component in my physical life for most of my life, because I've always loved to play, but the discipline to acquire the skills to play has been so much stronger than the actual like middle name of the Foot Collective, which is fun. So I did the trek in the first time, which is the 42 consecutive days, 30 minutes a day, documenting in a log, which is just so helpful, and also uploading videos of like seeing my movements, and watching other people's, which is an invaluable tool. Not only in community, but also just watching others move and seeing yourself move. Great biofeedback. But I also just started to not have fun. It became such an obligation that I didn't finish the program in 42 days. It ended up being like 55 or 60 days. And I kind of beat myself up for that along the way too. So I tried to start again a couple times, and because that discipline part was so strong, I just would fall off, and I would still move throughout the day, but I wasn't documenting. And my life is pretty movement oriented. I move a lot, but I really want the structure, but I also want the play. So this third time that I'm committing, I'm giving myself, at first I was saying I'm going to give myself like 50 days to complete 42, but I'm not, it's going to extend from that. And um and I'm focused on pleasure. So the pleasure is that if when I move, even when I'm working, even if the practice is a disciplined work that I know is going to bring me closer to having a better tennis forehand, or stronger squat, or a more stable ankles, or more dorsiflexion, whatever it is, if there isn't an element of like, if I'm not able to breathe into the pleasure and asking my body to recognize that there is joy in that, even in the work, then I stop. Because I think it's like changing a certain like looping neural pathway in my brain that like turns every physical freaking thing I do into like basketball practice, college senior year, fighting for some goal that I didn't even understand. So and it includes me a lot of music and a lot of dancing. And so when I'm on my beam, I turn music on, and usually I'm just like, well, if you're listening to music, I love listening to music, but if I'm working out, I take the music out because it's like, well, I want to be self-reliant and I want to do it myself. I don't want to depend on the amped up, music. But now I've
Mhm.
loosened all the guardrails, and so every morning I have what I call the coffee practice. So it takes about 20 to 30 minutes for me to percolate my coffee. I could do it faster, but it's the only time I will actually, I have actually built a habit of moving. So for 20 to 30 minutes, I play around in the kitchen while my coffee's brewing.
Wait, are
And
you
that's
overbrewing your coffee, Ruth? Is that are you overbrewing maybe? But for the
that is
sake
a
of the play, is that what we're looking at here?
that is a distinct possibility. I have been accused of liking burnt coffee by my
Hey,
coffee
okay.
connoisseur friends. I like a very dark roast, and it's old school
Yes.
percolator like my grandma had. So I put it
Like a
on.
pour over kind of thing?
No, no, no. It's a filter and a steel, like a stainless steel container, and then you scoop. I'm gonna go get it.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about.
It's this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
And
All
then
right.
you
We're
put
getting a
this
little
in
off topic, but thank you for.
that's okay, but you should know this because the water boils up through there, and then it brews, and then it is like a pour over, but old school.
Old school. All right.
Yeah, so it's coffee and play practice, and so I am documenting at the end of each day and logging, but it's a little more loose around like how does the body, what was pleasurable about it, and if it wasn't, why not, and like how did I treat my body? Did I treat my body as my best friend and the only asset that I really have in life until I die? Or did I go back to my old habits of over disciplining myself?
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Well, I look forward to hearing how that all shakes out because I think that's a really common obstacle for myself and a lot of other people in our community. It's like the consistent. I mean, doing 30 minutes a day for 42 days straight is really challenging.
Hmm.
And I think there's a certain momentum and initial sort of inspiration that people have. I think that's for the first week or 2 weeks, but that middle sort of day, I don't know, 10 to 30 can be really
Yeah.
rough. And so I think having a little bit looser, like having a little bit looser guidelines and being a little kind to yourself is great. So I like that. I don't know. I mean, I still find because I share a lot of those similar histories with you in terms of okay, we're trying to achieve a goal, whether it's on a on a basketball team or playing a tennis match or in a tennis tournament, and then the training that goes on when you're not doing that. It's all very very work and chore and discipline focused, which I think there's a place for it
Yeah.
because if you have, I mean, for me personally, I have this really powerful why that I want to be playing competitive tennis tournaments and I want to be surfing at a high level for the next 20 years. So I know that in order to achieve that, I know that those sports do certain things to my body. And if I'm not doing some of those things like the track or taking care of my joints and my mobility, that I'm not going to be able to achieve that goal. So I still, yeah, I still haven't like a lot of this stuff, especially with some of my old injuries with ankles and trying to loosen up some of that tissue. That really does feel like work. And the way
Yeah.
that I've sort of managed that is I make sure that in that same 30-minute block, I'll grab a soulmate, I'll grab a balance beam, and I'll be able to like add the element of play where there's no sets, there's no reps, it's music on, and it's really just a flowing. So it's kind of like there's the work and then there's the play. I almost kind of reward myself in that sense, and that's why I think the balance beam and the soulmate are such powerful tools, is because you are getting such um, lower body recalibration and stability and
Mhm.
strength and it doesn't have to feel like reps and sets and,
Yeah.
and all that stuff. So yeah, that's great.
I
And
wanted to ask,
whereabouts are you? Where are you, about halfway through the trek, or are you on
I'm,
this last go?
I, yeah, I'm on day 12. No,
Okay.
I'm on day 13.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and so this morning I woke up and I have been getting rained out in tennis, and I woke up this morning, it's been super rainy and overcast, and I didn't really feel, I noticed that didn't, I feel better though, like the dancing, the moving my joints, getting out of the sagittal plane, um, including dancing with my soulmate and my beam, which I know a lot of our community has incorporated. Um, Getting out of the sagittal plane, what I mean by that is not everything forward and back, right? So rotating and spiraling and little jumps, like tiny little plyometrics that feel great to music. Like I'm starting to feel better in my joints because I tend to store a lot of stress in my joints and in my hips, and then that subsequently ends up being, no matter how great my feet are, it's like I still tense and I have like a certain mindset. So really this trek is about shifting mindset. So day 13, I'm really focusing on shifting like neuromuscular pathways and ideas around what I'm doing. Because I love the idea, like what you're talking about, of working, delaying gratification a little bit, and then playing
Hmm.
and letting that be like a flow. So I think in the past, I focused on the discipline and the structure, which I have a good structure. And now it's like I want to turn everything that I'm doing into like not holding my breath. I hold my breath a lot, even when I'm being successful. Like the skills I've acquired end up storing stress, even when they're good movement patterns, Nick, because I hold my breath um, for whatever the reasons are. So loosening the breath and like getting more into a dancey flow feeling that's really creative and no mirrors and just good ass music, and then just dancing afterwards of whatever I'm doing has been really helpful. So this morning I just danced. I have no idea what my neighbors think about that because the windows and the curtains are open. um, but I wanted to, and then the logging. So I wanted to turn it back to you because one of the things that you were saying is that in this particular round, you've gotten a lot of benefit around your documenting. So can you talk about that a little bit, about like how valuable documenting is and what you use it for, and like how do you use that information and that data that you collect?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think when I did the trek the first time, I was logging, and it was helpful to stay consistent because I think there's something about, you know, I mean, I like kind of going old school. I've tried different methodologies. I've tried using an app on my phone to mark off stuff, but I really just enjoy the old school pen to notebook. And I just, for the first trek, it was just nice seeing, a daily log of like having done the work and then just keeping that rhythm and that momentum going. But I didn't really get too detailed on how certain movements and exercises were impacting the way that my body was feeling, and I think the either progression or lack of progression that I was making. Because I think that the beautiful thing about the trek is that it really, after the first week, it really is this open sort of self experimentation where you're trying different experiments on your body to see how those impact the way your body feels and moves and functions. And so I think on the second round, I was really detailed around, okay, I did this particular routine. I felt this particular way. How did I feel at night? So I've been doing like an AM and PM log, just really quick, probably 30 seconds to a minute. Currently, I have this sort of insertional heel pain. So what I think is kind of a insertional tendinopathy or tendonitis. Um, it flares up after I play tennis. If I sit a lot, it tends to kind of create some pain. So I just wanted to get a sense of 1 to 10. What is the heel pain when I wake up? And 1 to 10, what is the heel pain when before bed. And so and then I write down what the routine I did. I generally write I get like a sleep score. I check my HRV, which is a measure of recovery and heart rate variability. So I kind of track these sort of high level things, and then I see, for example, I've been doing there's a routine, the hallux limitus routine A, which hallux
Mhm.
limitus is just like a stiff big toe, for those of you who don't know. But I've been doing that particular routine, and I've noticed after I do that routine, I have slightly less heel pain, and I also just feel I can move my big toe, which is kind of the point. After that
Mhm.
routine, I have more range of motion in that big toe. That tends to improve the way that I squat, and so I'm able to sort of squat with a little bit more depth. I can hold like a split squat, more of that lunge pattern where I'm driving into that big toe. So for me, that particular routine has really been um, impactful. So I've been doing that routine over and over and over. So it's sort of like finding what that routine that works and seems to move the needle, and then just repeating that. So that's one big thing, and the other is, and this is I just started doing this. I'm at about day 20, 19, 20. So I'm about almost halfway the track. The last week, I've been writing down my RPE, so my rate of perceived exertion.
Mhm.
And so this is something, I mean, I'm a personal trainer. I work with people, and I generally tend to ask people how difficult the workout is, trying to get a sense of where somebody is in terms of like the level of difficulty so that I can adjust the workout. And I never really applied it to my foot practice, to the trek. I was always like thinking, okay, I just need to do my work and show up and and go through the reps. And now I'm starting to realize, and I think, this is probably something that you already know, or that many people know. It's like, in order to change, like, you need the consistency, but you also need um, some intensity, right? You need the signals to be sent to your body for that adaptation to occur. And so a lot of times, I think my first track, I was just kind of going through the motions and getting it done, which was great. I think I saw improvements. But now I'm trying to just ramp that up a little bit to try to drive a little bit more intensity so that I can get a slightly better signaling to my body so that it can elicit that adaptation that I'm looking for. So we'll see what happens there. I maybe 3 or 4 days into that, sort of upping the RPE from maybe like a 4 or 5 now to like a 7 or 8. I've been
Mhm.
using a lot of pails and rails, which is a FRC principle, especially for the ankles, which is pretty intense. It's a kind of, it's like almost like a max effort, very specific strength work for the joint, for the ankle joint in this particular example. But that's been pretty intense. But again, I've been trying to use that and then go play on the soulmate,
Mhm.
which not only helps with the play element, but also I think after the pails and rails, that sort of opens up some of that space, some of that workspace in the joint, and then I can sort of get on the balance beam, and then I'm able to sort of use that space so I can sort of communicate to my nervous system that it's okay to go into these ranges, and so that hopefully I have those new ranges of motion that are saved instead of having to start from zero on the next day. So I think, to recap, just upping the intensity a little bit, and then really getting more specific on sort of quantifying and qualifying the pain that I
Mhm.
have with this particular Achilles injury that I'm managing.
Nice. One thing
Yeah.
I wanted to add that I wrote down and I wanted to post this in our community, but I haven't done it yet, which is um, I love I love reversing um, the challenge. And what I mean by that is lately I've been messing around with like getting on the soulmate. So doing like I usually warm up with like practicing the stances, beginning and intermediate stances. So let's say I get on the beam and normally I would do like a minute just warming up with single leg stance. So lately what I've been doing is I've been getting on the soulmate. I have the green beam, the the metal ones and I have the Soulmate. And I'll get on the green beam and I will practice single leg stance, eyes closed, no arms for 1 minute. Make a shit ton of errors, right? But I'll do that a few times and then I will regress to the Soulmate, and then I will do my eyes closed single leg stance on the ground and I nail it. So like I love the idea of like sometimes like switching up the levels of difficulty, right? Because let's say you're
Mm-hmm.
having trouble, with single leg stance, eyes closed on the ground, but you do the harder thing, your brain is trying to work out and problem solve the hardest thing, and then you go back to what used to be the hard thing, and now it becomes the easier thing. So I love doing that too, and that's been really fun.
Nice. Sweet. That's a good one.
So I think we should probably check check end this here and stop recording, and
Yeah.
then we'll do it again next week. Anything else you want to
Yeah.
say
Yeah.
before we hang? Oh, I have one question for you though. It occurred to me that you probably, I don't know, do you work with people on, because you're a TFC pro, right?
Yep.
So would you want to, if somebody wanted to work with you, would you be willing to do that? Could you? Could they?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I have there's actually a few clients that I'm helping sort of pattern some of their foot health. I mean, it's all on, we're doing a lot of strength work and just trying to in a couple of these particular examples also try to lose some body weight. But part of that is, part of the fat loss equation is moving more and trying to just have more movement. But if somebody has pain and they can't move as much, it's sort of a difficult, tricky equation to solve. So a lot of with a couple guys, I mostly work with men, but yeah, it's helping them sort of just retrain some of the foot pattern and just getting their foot moving a little bit more. And it's amazing what a 5-minute practice for a couple weeks can do, just doing some of these really basic mobilizations on the foot and then going and walking with some minimal shoes or barefoot to sort of
Mhm.
pattern that new range of motion. So yeah, absolutely. I live in Costa Rica, in Tamarindo, but I definitely have a lot of people that I work with all over, mostly in the US, remotely. So absolutely.
Well, I'll put your, can I put your email in the description?
Sure thing.
Okay.
Yeah. How about you, Ruth? Are you open to taking
Yeah.
on? No.
Yeah,
Okay. You
I'm
pass it.
open.
Pass them to me.
I'm passing everybody to my awesome
You,
colleagues and TFC pros who do an amazing job. But my plate's full, and
right on.
I want to play tennis. So yes, I'll pass them to you
And
for
ping
sure.
pong. And ping pong.
And ping pong and
Ping
dance.
pong and tennis
Oh, I
and
want to do
dance.
and drink coffee,
There
bar
you-
coffee. Okay, we love you.
All
Ciao,
right.
y'all.
See you guys. Ciao.